see. It's positive.
What is positive?
See, I'm pregnant for us.
Wow, I'm so happy. So very soon I'll become a father.
Yes.
Guy, how far? Good news.
What news?
My wife is pregnant.
Wow, congratulations, brother. Welcome to the challenge.
What challenge?
Pregnancy Wahala na.
Babe, wake up.
What's wrong?
I'm pregnant and you're sleeping?
What do you need? This is 2 a.m.
I want water.
I'll get it.
Not this one. River water.
What? River water by this time? I think this your pregnancy is clearly turning to something else.
But it not me, is the baby, or you don't want to do what the baby wants.
Okay, no problem. I will get it for you. If this is what the baby wants.
I want eggs.
Fried or boiled?
Both. One fried, one boiled.
Okay, let me get it for you.
Okay, thank you, my love.
Here is what you ask.
This is wrong. Why did you boil the wrong egg and fried the wrong egg?
But how? Egg is egg.
No, you don't do what the baby want, and the baby is angry.
I think this is the right time to leave this house for you and the baby because I'm tired.
You're hurting my feelings, and the baby is not happy.
I am sorry, but you make me feel bad as well in the name of pregnancy.
He married a calm, sweet, reasonable woman. 9 months later, he was driving to a river at 2 in the morning to fetch water because his pregnant wife said tap water did not taste right. He boiled eggs and fried eggs at the same time and was told he fried the wrong egg and boiled the wrong egg. He was threatened with tears every time he tried to say no to anything, and he was seriously considering packing his bags and leaving his own house. This is the story of Stephen and Leah, and by the time it ends, your stomach will hurt from laughing. Before we continue, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so anytime we drop a new video, you will be the first to know. Now, let us get into this story. Stephen Boateng was 32 years old, and he was a happy man. Not the loud kind of happy that announces itself, the quiet kind. The kind that shows up in small ways, the way he whistled while he made morning tea, the way he greeted his neighbors by name, the way he came home from work every evening and genuinely looked forward to walking through his own front door. He worked as a secondary school mathematics teacher. He had been teaching for 7 years, and he was good at it. He was patient with students who did not understand things the first time. He had a way of explaining complex problems simply that made even the most resistant students eventually nod and say, "Ah, I see it now." His colleagues respected him. His students liked him more than they liked most mathematics teachers, which is not a small achievement. He was a man of routine and order. He woke at the same time every morning. He had his tea the same way every day, 2 spoons of sugar, a little milk, steeped for exactly 4 minutes. He prepared his lesson plans on Sunday evenings. He kept his shoes polished and his shirts ironed. He was not rigid about these things. He simply found that order made life run smoothly, and he had no reason to fight it. He had married Leah 2 years earlier. Leah Boateng was 28 years old, and she was the best decision Stephen had ever made. She worked as a nurse at a nearby clinic. She was warm and practical and funny in the way that people are funny who do not try to be, the kind of humor that arrives naturally out of honest observations about the world. She kept the home well. She was kind to Stephen's mother, who visited twice a year. She made the best jollof rice in the neighborhood and knew it without ever saying it. Their marriage was peaceful in the most genuine sense of the word, not the peace of 2 people who have stopped caring, the peace of 2 people who have figured out how to live together without making it harder than it needs to be. They disagreed sometimes, they argued occasionally, but they always came back to each other quickly because neither of them saw the point of prolonged conflict with the person you chose to spend your life with. Stephen often told his colleague and close friend Kofi that he had married extremely well. Kofi always said, "I know, I was at the wedding. You both looked embarrassingly happy." Stephen would laugh and agree. This was life before the pregnancy test. The morning Leah came out of the bathroom holding the test stick and showed it to Stephen was a Thursday in March. Stephen looked at it. He looked at Leah. Leah looked at him. Then both of them burst into the kind of happiness that only arrives when something you wanted very much has finally become real. Stephen called his mother immediately. His mother cried happy tears on the phone. He called Kofi next. Kofi said congratulations and also condolences because you have no idea what is coming for you. Stephen laughed. He thought Kofi was joking. Kofi was not joking.
The first few weeks of the pregnancy were manageable. There was tiredness. Leah came home from the clinic and went straight to the sofa, and Stephen made dinner without being asked. There was some nausea in the mornings that meant Leah could not always eat what Stephen had prepared. There were days when she was more emotional than usual, and Stephen learned quickly to pay close attention to what he said and how he said it. All of this Stephen handled with patience and genuine care. He had read 3 pregnancy books in the 2 weeks since they found out. He knew about first trimester symptoms. He knew about the fatigue and the nausea and the emotional sensitivity. He was prepared. What the books did not prepare him for was Leah specifically. The first indication that something unusual was happening came on a Saturday morning. Stephen was making breakfast. He asked Leah what she wanted. Leah said, "I want boiled egg and fried egg." Stephen said, "Both?" Leah said, "Yes, both. I want boiled egg and fried egg. The baby wants it." Stephen, being a reasonable man, made both. He boiled 1 egg and fried 1 egg. He presented them to Leah at the kitchen table with toast and a glass of water. Leah looked at the plate. She looked at Stephen. She looked at the plate again. She said, "Stephen, this is not right." Stephen said, "What is not right?" She said, "You boiled the wrong egg." Stephen stared at her. He said, "Leah, an egg is an egg. They all come from the same place." Leah said, "I know what I want, Stephen. The baby knows what it wants. Why are you arguing with a pregnant woman?" Stephen opened his mouth. He closed it. He looked at the plate. He looked at Leah. He looked at the ceiling. He took a deep breath. He said, "Okay, do you want me to redo them?" Leah said, "No, it is fine. I will manage." She then proceeded to eat both eggs and the toast and everything on the plate and asked if there was more bread. Stephen went to the kitchen and stood at the counter for a moment. He said quietly to himself, "She ate both eggs. She ate both eggs. They were the same eggs." He put more bread in the toaster. He said nothing further about the eggs. But later that week, he called Kofi. He said, "Kofi, Leah sent back the eggs." Kofi said, "Ah, it has started." Stephen said, "What has started?" Kofi said, "The pregnancy Wahala, my brother. Welcome." Stephen said, "What do you mean, the pregnancy Wahala? She is only 7 weeks." Kofi laughed for a very long time. Stephen did not find it as funny at that point. He would find it funnier later, much later, after it was over. The river water incident happened on a Tuesday night at 2:17 in the morning. Stephen knew the exact time because he looked at his phone when Leah shook him awake. He had a 7 a.m. class the next morning. He had gone to bed at 10:30 specifically to make sure he got enough sleep. He was in the deepest part of that sleep when Leah's hand found his shoulder and shook. He said, "Ugh." Leah said, "Stephen, I am thirsty." Stephen, still mostly asleep, gestured toward the bedside table where he kept a glass of water every night for exactly this kind of thing. He had started putting a second glass there since the pregnancy began. He had thought of everything. Leah said, "Not that water." Stephen opened one eye. He said, "What?" Leah said, "That is tap water. I cannot drink tap water. The baby does not want tap water." Stephen opened both eyes. He sat up slightly. He said, "Leah, the tap water is filtered. It is clean. It is good water." Leah said, "I know it is clean, but the baby does not want that kind of water. The baby wants fresh water, natural water." Stephen said, "What kind of natural water?" There was a pause. Leah said, "River water." Stephen turned and looked at his wife in the darkness of their bedroom. He said, "River water?" She said, "Yes, the river behind Mensa's farm. You know the one. The water there is so fresh and clean. I can practically taste it. The baby is asking for it." Stephen sat up, fully upright. He said, "Leah, it is 2 in the morning." Leah said, "I know what time it is, Stephen." Stephen said, "The river is 20 minutes from here." Leah said, "I know where the river is, Stephen." Stephen said, "It is 2 in the morning and you want me to go to a river 20 minutes away to fetch water." Leah said, "You do not have to go immediately. You can—" Her voice broke slightly. The break that Stephen had learned in the past few weeks meant that tears were approximately 15 seconds away. Stephen said, "Leah, do not cry." The tears arrived. Leah said between them, "I am not asking for much. I am growing a whole human being inside me. I cannot even drink clean water without it being a problem. Fine, it is fine. I will just be thirsty. The baby will just be thirsty." Stephen looked at his wife crying in the dark. He looked at his phone showing 2:17 a.m. He looked at the ceiling. He got out of bed, he put on his trousers, he found his car keys. He drove 20 minutes to the river behind Mensa's farm in the middle of the night. He filled a clean bottle of river water. He drove 20 minutes back. Leah drank 2 sips. She said, "Thank you, my love. That is exactly what the baby needed. You are the best husband." She went to sleep. Stephen sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the bottle of river water. He drove 20 minutes for 2 sips. He put the bottle on the bedside table. He lay back down. He stared at the ceiling until the alarm went off at 6:30. It was a Sunday afternoon, approximately 3 weeks after the river water incident. Stephen had been managing, he told himself every day, that this was temporary. Pregnancy lasts 9 months. This was not forever. He could do 9 months. He was a mathematics teacher. He was good with patience. But Sunday afternoon broke him a little. It started when Leah asked for mango at 10 in the morning. Not a small ask, a full, ripe mango. Stephen drove to the market, found the best mango available, drove back, washed it, cut it properly, and presented it in a bowl. Leah looked at the bowl. She said, "Stephen, this mango is not cold." Stephen said, "You did not say you wanted it cold." Leah said, "Obviously I want it cold. Who eats mango at room temperature?" Stephen said, "Many people eat mango at—" Leah's eyes began to fill. Stephen took the mango bowl to the freezer. He waited 15 minutes. He brought it back. Leah said, "This is too cold now." Stephen set the bowl on the table very carefully. He straightened up. He said, "Leah, I need to say something." Leah said, "If it is about the mango." He said, "It is not only about the mango." He sat down across from her. He said, "In the past 3 weeks, I have driven to a river in the middle of the night for water. I have boiled and fried eggs simultaneously and been told I did both wrong. I drove to 4 different shops last Wednesday because the first 3 did not have the specific brand of biscuit you wanted, and the 4th one had it, but the packaging was the wrong color, and you could not eat it. I have been woken up at least 11 times in the night for various requests. I ironed your wrapper 3 times last Tuesday because the first 2 times the crease was on the wrong side." Leah opened her mouth. Stephen said, "I am not finished. This past Thursday, you sent me to get you the specific pepper soup from Auntie Mabel's place across town. I went. I came back. You smelled it and said it did not smell like Auntie Mabel's pepper soup. Leah, it was Auntie Mabel's pepper soup. I bought it from Auntie Mabel, from her shop, with my own money and my own legs. Leah said, "The baby." Stephen said, "I think the best thing is for me to leave this house for you before you destroy my life." There was a silence. Leah's bottom lip trembled. She said, "Stephen, you cannot leave." He said, "Leah." She said, "It is not me, it is the baby. The baby is the one who wants these things. Do you think I enjoy sending you to rivers in the night? Do you think I want cold mango? The baby inside me is controlling everything. I am a victim in this situation." Stephen looked at his wife, his very pregnant, very serious, very earnest wife who was explaining that she was the victim of her own unborn child. He said, "Leah, you are unbelievable." She said, "I know. I am also hungry. Can you warm the mango a little?"
Stephen had always known that Leah did not like tea. This was not a secret or a surprise. From the very beginning of their relationship, Leah had been clear. She did not drink tea. She found the taste unpleasant. Coffee occasionally, malt drink regularly, water always, but tea never. So when Leah came to Stephen one afternoon and said, "Babe, I want to drink tea," Stephen was surprised. He said, "You want tea?" She said, "Yes, tea. The baby wants tea." Stephen, having now learned to simply proceed with requests rather than question them, went to the kitchen and made tea. He made it the way he made his own, 2 spoons of sugar, a little milk. He brought it to Leah. Leah held the cup. She smelled it. She looked at it. She said, "Stephen, you know I do not like tea." Stephen said, "Leah, you just asked me for tea." She said, "Yes, the baby wants tea, but I do not like the taste. So how are we going to handle this situation?" Stephen stood in the middle of the living room with a cup of tea in his hand, looking at his wife. He said, "Leah, there is no other way for the baby to get the tea except through you drinking it." Leah said, "I know that. That is the problem I am describing." Stephen said, "So what do you want me to do?" Leah said, "I was hoping you would think of something." Stephen said, "Leah, I'm a mathematics teacher, not a magician." Leah said, "You are always so dramatic. Can you not just find a way to make the tea taste better?" Stephen went back to the kitchen. He added more sugar. He added honey. He added a biscuit on the side. He brought it back. Leah took a sip. She made a face. She said, "It still tastes like tea." Stephen said, "That is because it is tea." She said, "I know, that is the problem." Stephen sat down. He said, "Leah, if the baby wants tea and you cannot drink tea because you do not like tea, then perhaps the baby needs to reconsider." Leah looked at him with the expression of a woman who has just been told the most unreasonable thing she has ever heard. She said, "You cannot tell an unborn baby to reconsider." He said, "I know I cannot, but I also cannot change the taste of tea into something that is not tea." She looked at the cup. She took another small sip. She shuddered. She said, "I will try to manage for the baby." She drank half the cup with the expression of someone completing a very difficult physical task. Stephen watched this in silence. He went to his room and called Kofi. He said, "Kofi, she asked for tea. She does not like tea. She blames the baby. What is happening to my wife?" Kofi laughed so hard he dropped his phone. Everyone who knew Leah knew that she loved sunsets. She had loved them her whole life. Before the pregnancy, on good evenings, she and Stephen would sometimes sit outside on their small veranda and watch the sun go down together. It was one of the simple routines they had built into their marriage. Leah would say, "The sky is doing something," and Stephen would bring 2 drinks outside and they would sit and watch the colors change until the dark came. This was a known and established fact about Leah Boateng. So what happened on the Thursday in question had absolutely no excuse.
Leah had been tired that day. She had eaten a large lunch, rice and chicken and plantain, and a full bowl of soup that Stephen had made specifically because she had described exactly what she wanted at 11 a.m., and he had gone to the market at noon and cooked it by 2 p.m., like the extraordinarily patient man he was. After the lunch, Leah settled on the sofa and fell into the deep, satisfied sleep of a woman who has eaten extremely well. She slept and slept. Stephen did the dishes. He prepared some marking from school. He made himself a cup of tea. He watched the evening news. He tidied the living room. He sat at his desk and sorted some papers. The sun set at approximately 6:42 p.m. It was a spectacular one. The sky went orange, then pink, then a deep purple that was genuinely beautiful. Stephen noted it from the window and thought to himself that Leah would have enjoyed it. He considered waking her, but she was sleeping so deeply and so peacefully that he decided to let her rest. At 7:15, Leah woke. She stretched, she yawned, she looked around the room. She looked toward the window where the sky was now dark. She said, "Stephen." Stephen said, "Yes." She said, "Did the sun set while I was sleeping?" Stephen said, "Yes, it was beautiful actually, very orange." Leah looked at him. She said, "You let me sleep through the sunset?" Stephen said, "You were sleeping so well. I did not want to disturb." Leah said, "Stephen, you know how much I love watching the sun set. You know this about me." Stephen said, "I know, but you seem tired." And Leah said, "Why did you not wake me up?" Stephen said, "Leah, I just explained." Leah said, "I missed the sunset because of you." Stephen stopped. He looked at his wife. He said very carefully, "Leah, you were asleep." She said, "You could have woken me." He said, "You needed rest." She said, "I needed the sunset more than I needed rest." Her voice cracked. She said, "I am pregnant and tired and I cannot even watch a sunset anymore." She began to cry. Stephen stood in the middle of the living room watching his wife cry over a sunset that he had deliberately not woken her for out of pure consideration and kindness. He said, "Leah, tomorrow I will wake you for the sunset, I promise." She said between tears, "It will not be the same sunset." Stephen said, "No, it will be tomorrow's sunset, which will also be beautiful." She sniffled. She said, "It better be." Stephen went and sat beside her. He rubbed her back. He said nothing further. He made a note in his phone, "Wake Leah for sunset," every day. Stephen began keeping a private list, not because he planned to do anything with it, but because recording the requests made him feel slightly more in control of a situation that had very little control available in it. He started writing them in a small notebook he kept in his bedside drawer. He titled it simply, "The List." The list grew quickly. Week 9 demanded specific brand of chin-chin that is no longer in production. Stephen spent 40 minutes calling shops before Kofi's wife remembered she had a pack. Stephen drove across town to collect it. Week 10 woke Stephen at midnight saying she could hear the neighbor's generator and it was giving the baby bad energy. Stephen went to knock on the neighbor's door at midnight to ask if they could reduce the generator noise. The neighbor looked at Stephen for a long time. Stephen apologized and came back. Week 11 refused to eat the rice Stephen cooked because she said he had stirred it too many times and it no longer had the right texture. Stephen cooked a second pot of rice. He stirred it exactly twice. Week 12 decided she wanted to rearrange all the furniture in the living room at 8 p.m. because the current arrangement was making her anxious. Stephen moved the sofa, the chairs, the center table, and the television stand. She looked at the new arrangement. She said it was better, but the sofa needed to go back to where it was. Stephen moved the sofa back. Week 13. Woke at 3 a.m. saying she needed to write down a dream she had before she forgot it. Could not find a pen. Woke Stephen to find a pen. Stephen found a pen. Leah wrote down the dream. It took 11 minutes. She went back to sleep immediately. Stephen lay awake for another hour. Week 14. Decided that the smell of Stephen's preferred soap was making her nauseous. Stephen had used the same soap for 6 years. He switched soaps. The new soap also made her nauseous. He switched again. By the 4th soap, she said the smell was fine, but the texture felt wrong. Stephen was using liquid soap at this point. Week 15. Sent Stephen to 3 different restaurants in one evening because the first one's jollof rice was too smoky, the second one's chicken was too soft, and the third one's plantain was underripe. She combined the rice from the first restaurant with the chicken from the second restaurant and ate very happily. Week 16. Woke at 1 a.m., said nothing, simply lay there sighing loudly every few minutes until Stephen asked what was wrong. She said nothing was wrong. He asked again. She said she just felt a certain way. He asked what certain way. She could not describe it, she just felt it. Stephen lay in the dark beside his wife, who felt an indescribable certain way and thought about how peaceful his life had been before March. He still loved Leah completely. He had not stopped for even one moment. But he did think about his old soap quite often.
There was a Friday evening, approximately 4 months into the pregnancy, when Stephen drove to Kofi's house and sat in Kofi's living room with the expression of a man who has questions that require urgent answers. Kofi took one look at Stephen and said, "Sit down, let me get you water." Stephen sat down. He looked at Kofi's tidy, peaceful living room and thought about how a living room could look when the person in it was not currently pregnant. He said, "Kofi, I need to ask you something seriously." Kofi said, "Ask." Stephen said, "Is this how pregnant women behave, or is my own situation different from the normal experience?" Kofi took a moment before answering. He said, "Describe the situation." Stephen described the situation. He described it comprehensively. The river water, the eggs, the tea she could not drink, the sunset, the furniture rearrangement, the soap, the restaurant tour of the city, the list in his notebook, all of it. When he finished, Kofi was quiet for a moment. Then Kofi said, "My wife also had some requests during her first pregnancy." Stephen said, "Like what?" Kofi said, "She once woke me at 2 a.m. because she wanted to hear a specific song and could not find it on her phone. I spent 20 minutes finding the song. She fell asleep before it finished." Stephen said, "Okay, that is one incident." Kofi said, "And there was a time she cried for 40 minutes because a leaf fell from our indoor plant and she felt it was a bad sign." Stephen said, "A leaf?" Kofi said, "One leaf from the plant we had in the corner." Stephen said, "Okay, anything else?" Kofi thought. He said, "She once refused to eat any food I prepared for an entire week because she said my hands smelled like work and it was affecting the taste. I had to have my mother come and cook." Stephen sat with all of this. He said, "So this is actually a thing. Pregnant women actually do these things." Kofi said, "Stephen, pregnancy does something to a woman that no science book can fully explain. The same woman who was completely rational last year will look at you with total sincerity and explain that she cannot drink the tea because even though the baby wants it, she personally does not like tea, and you need you to solve this problem." Stephen said, "That is exactly what happened." Kofi said, "I know, because it is a universal experience." Stephen said, "How did you survive it?" Kofi said, "Patience, and also I told myself every single time, this is temporary. The baby is coming. When the baby comes, the river water requests stop." Stephen said, "And they stopped?" Kofi said, "Mostly. Then the breastfeeding phase started, but that is a different conversation. Stephen looked at Kofi. He said, "I am not sure I am strong enough for this." Kofi said, "You are. You love Leah." Stephen said, "I love Leah enormously, but Kofi, she made me go back to the river a second time because she said the water from the first trip had lost its freshness by the time she wanted more." Kofi stared at him. Then Kofi began to laugh. Stephen eventually laughed too.
Stephen said the wrong thing on a Wednesday. He knew it was the wrong thing approximately 1 second after it left his mouth, but by then it was too late. Words do not have a reverse gear. It had been a particularly challenging day. He had woken at 5 a.m. because Leah said the pillow arrangement was wrong and she needed all 4 pillows positioned differently around her body. He had spent 20 minutes arranging pillows in the dark. He had then been unable to get back to sleep properly before his alarm at 6:30. He had gone to school and taught 4 lessons while operating on insufficient sleep. He had come home to find Leah in excellent spirits, having slept beautifully, who greeted him with a long list of things she needed done before dinner. He had done all of the things. Then at dinner, Leah looked at the food he had prepared and said, "Stephen, did you use the left or the right tomatoes?" Stephen said, "What?" She said, "I put 2 groups of tomatoes in the fridge. The ones on the left were for cooking. The ones on the right were for eating fresh. Which ones did you use?" Stephen looked at the pot. He said, "Leah, they were tomatoes in the same fridge." She said, "It matters. Did you use the left ones or the right ones?" Stephen felt something in him reach the end of its rope. He said, "Leah, I am tired. I have been awake since 5 a.m. because of the pillows. I have taught 4 lessons. I have done everything on your list. I have made dinner. I do not know which side of the fridge the tomatoes were on because they were tomatoes." He said, "If this is how pregnancy behaves for the next 5 months, then I genuinely think you should consider terminating that pregnancy." The silence that followed was the most complete silence Stephen had experienced in his adult life. Leah looked at him. She said, "What did you just say?" Stephen heard the words replaying in his head. He said, "Leah, I did not mean—" She burst into tears. Not small tears, the complete kind. She said, "You want me to terminate our baby because of tomatoes. You want to remove our baby because of tomatoes, Stephen." Stephen stood up and moved to her side immediately. He said, "Leah, I did not mean that. I was tired and—" She said, "You said what you said." He said, "I was speaking without thinking. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I would never—" She said, our baby who has done nothing, who is just trying to develop inside me, and you said terminate." Stephen spent 45 minutes apologizing. He apologized in the kitchen. He apologized in the living room. He apologized at the dinner table over the disputed tomato stew, which Leah eventually ate 2 full bowls of. He called her mother to explain that he had said something very stupid and that he loved Leah and the baby completely. Her mother said, "Stephen, go and buy her something nice tomorrow." He bought her flowers and a specific brand of mango juice that she had mentioned 3 weeks earlier in passing. She forgave him, mostly. She mentioned the tomatoes again 4 more times over the following month. The pregnancy was not finished with Stephen. There was the incident with the fan. Leah decided in month 6 that the bedroom fan was too loud. Not a different fan, the same fan they had used for 3 years without complaint. Stephen could not hear any difference in its sound, but Leah said it had developed a new sound, a specific frequency that was disturbing to the baby, and she could not sleep with it running. The nights that followed without the fan were very warm. Stephen lay in the warmth and thought many thoughts. Then Leah decided she was too warm and wanted the fan back. The fan came back. 3 days later, it was too loud again. There was also the incident with the photographs on the wall.
Leah decided that a particular photograph hanging in the corridor, a wedding photo of the two of them looking extremely happy, needed to be moved because the angle at which she saw it every time she passed was giving her a bad feeling. Stephen moved the photograph. Leah passed it in its new position and said it was better, but now it looked crooked. Stephen straightened it. She passed again and said it was better, but perhaps it should go back to the original position. The photograph went to 6 different positions over 2 weeks before settling back in the original spot. Stephen did not comment on this. Then came the specific texture of orange incident. Leah wanted oranges, but she could not eat them if the white stringy part between the segments was still attached. Stephen spent a significant portion of a Sunday afternoon removing the white stringy part from individual orange segments so that Leah could eat them without distress. There was also the night she decided she needed to call her secondary school friend at 11 p.m. to apologize for something that had happened between them in Form 3. She could not sleep, she said, until she had made this apology. The friend was understandably confused about the late-night phone call. The apology was made. Leah slept. Stephen lay awake wondering about the Form 3 incident. Stephen's notebook list had reached page 4. And yet, underneath all of the Wahala, underneath the river water and the eggs and the tea problem and the sunset and the photographs and the orange segments and the tomatoes, underneath all of it, something was happening that Stephen could see when he looked at Leah properly. She was growing, not just physically. Something in her was becoming something new. He would watch her sometimes in a quiet moment, sitting by the window, one hand resting on her growing stomach, looking at something outside with an expression he had never seen on her face before, a kind of serious, tender awareness. He asked her once what she was thinking about in those moments. She said, "I am just talking to the baby." Stephen said, "What are you saying?" She said, "I'm telling the baby what the world looks like, what the sky looks like today, what our street smells like in the morning." Stephen looked at his wife. All the Wahala sat somewhere in the background, and he felt completely and without reservation that he was the luckiest man on that street. He still wanted his old soap back, but he was the luckiest man on the street.
The baby arrived on a Tuesday morning. Stephen drove Leah to the hospital at 4 a.m. when the contractions began. He had the hospital bag ready. He'd packed it 2 weeks earlier with everything on the list the nurse at the clinic had given them, plus additional items he had added based on his own research. He was prepared. He'd been prepared for 3 weeks. What he was not fully prepared for was the reality of sitting in a hospital corridor, waiting. He called Kofi. Kofi arrived within 30 minutes and sat beside him. They did not talk much. Kofi brought a flask of tea. Stephen accepted it and did not even comment on whether it was the right kind. Hours passed, and then a nurse came out and said, "Mr. Boateng, you can come in." Stephen walked into the room. Leah was on the bed. She was tired in the complete way of someone who has just done the most demanding physical thing a human body can do. Her hair was damp, her eyes were exhausted, and in her arms was a small wrapped bundle, the baby. Stephen approached carefully. He sat on the edge of the bed. Leah turned the bundle slightly so Stephen could see the face, a small face, impossibly small. Eyes closed, mouth slightly open, the specific perfection of a person who has just arrived and has not yet been told anything about the world. Stephen looked at that face. He thought about the river water, the eggs, the tea she could not drink, the sunset, the 4 months of the notebook list, the pillow arrangement at 5 a.m., the tomatoes. He thought about all of it. He reached out and touched the baby's hand with one finger. The fingers were tiny. They curled slightly against his finger in the way that new babies curl. Stephen did not say anything for a moment. Then he said, "Hello." The baby did not respond because the baby was approximately 4 hours old. Leah said, "She's perfect." Stephen said, "Yes, she is." He looked at Leah. He said, "You did well." Leah said, "Stephen." He said, "Yes?" She said, "I am hungry. Can you find me something to eat?" Stephen laughed, a real laugh, the first full laugh in several months. He said, "What do you want?" She said, "Jollof rice from Auntie Mabel's place, and make sure it is the same one, not the one that smells wrong." Stephen stood up. He was still smiling. He said, "I will find you Auntie Mabel's rice." Leah said, "And can you call my mother and tell her the baby is here?" He said, "Already done. I called her from the corridor. She's on her way." Leah looked at him. She said, "Stephen, you are a good husband." Stephen said, "I know. I've been telling you that for 9 months." She laughed. It was the most beautiful sound he had heard in a long time. He went to find Auntie Mabel's rice.
The weeks after the baby arrived were a different kind of difficult. There was the tiredness of new parenthood that belongs to a category of its own, the night feeds, the learning curve of a brand new human who communicates entirely through sound and expression, the specific disorientation of a life that has been permanently and wonderfully reorganized around a small person who has no awareness that this reorganization is occurring. Stephen and Leah managed it together in the practical, honest way they had always managed things. There were nights that were very hard. There were mornings that arrived before anyone was ready for them. There were moments of genuine overwhelm that they talked through rather than around. But the pregnancy Wahala, the river water nights, the egg confusion, the tea problem, the sunset incident, the notebook list that had reached page 4, that part was over. The specific madness of those 9 months existed now as a story that Stephen and Kofi told at gatherings with increasing embellishment and decrease in accuracy, the way good stories tend to grow when they are retold enough times. The river water became 2 rivers. The eggs became a 3-course meal that was entirely wrong. The sunset incident became a story about Stephen genuinely considering moving to a different house. Leah listened to these retellings with the expression of a woman who remembers events differently. She maintained that she had been completely reasonable throughout the pregnancy. She maintained this with total confidence. She said, "I had needs, the baby had needs. Stephen managed those needs. That is what happened." Stephen would look at her with the expression of a man who could say many things and was choosing not to say them. He kept the notebook. He did not show it to Leah. He kept it in his bedside drawer as a historical document. His children would read it someday and understand what their father went through. The baby's name was Grace. Grace Botang slept in a cot beside their bed and changed the quality of the household air in a way that neither Stephen nor Leah had the words for, but both could feel. The specific warmth of a home that now contained 3 people instead of 2. Stephen sat outside on the veranda one evening, approximately 6 weeks after Grace arrived. The sun was setting. He had woken Leah early enough to see it. He'd been waking her for sunsets since the pregnancy, as promised. She was inside just now with Grace, but she would come out in a moment. He looked at the sky doing its evening colors. He thought about the whole year, the before and the during and the now after. He thought it was the best year of his life, not despite the Wahala, somehow including it. The gate opened and Kofi walked in with his wife, arriving for dinner as planned. Kofi looked at Stephen on the veranda. He said, "How are you?" Stephen said, "I am good. I am genuinely good." Kofi sat beside him. He said, "And Leah?" Stephen said, "She just asked me to check if the dinner plates are warm enough before we serve, because the baby might feel it if the food is on cold plates." Kofi said, "She is breastfeeding. The baby cannot feel the plates." Stephen said, "I know.
Both men looked at the sunset. Stephen went inside to check the plates. So, there you have it. River water at 2 in the morning, eggs that were boiled the wrong way, tea that the baby wanted but the mother could not drink, a sunset that nobody woke her for, a photograph that moved 6 times, orange segments with no white stringy parts, 9 months of Wahala that produced one perfect baby named Grace. Now the question is yours. Do you think Leah was doing all of this intentionally to keep Stephen on his toes? Or is this genuinely how pregnancy behaves? And most importantly, have you ever seen someone like this? Do you know a Leah? Are you a Leah? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Share this video with someone who needs to laugh today. I will see you on the next video.